Hey guys, thank you so much to Adam and the crew for inviting me. I was actually at the very first Ignite Philly at Johnny Brenda's back in 2008. If I would have told the crowd at that bar that the President of the United States would use Twitter and use it well and answer people, y'all would have cheered and loved that. And look at what happened just a few years later. Now, part of the reason I'm up here to talk to you guys is because I work in the media. I'm a journalist. And so people's journalism, the consumption of the reporting out there, has a huge impact on what they do in the voting booth. And it shouldn't surprise any of you that people's choices for media depend heavily on how they skew on the scale of Republican versus Democrat. But look at the third highest source for all voters, and Republicans and Democrats. It's a little site called Facebook, and everybody uses it, and nobody can avoid it. What I want to talk to you about tonight is how to stay away from a socially transmitted disease that a lot of us have heard a lot about these past few weeks, months, called fake news. Look around you, because in this room, according to the Pew Research Center, out of every 4 people on the internet, 1 of you shared a fake story, and you may even have known about it. That's a ridiculous percentage for a number that could easily have swayed the election. What kind of stories are we talking about when I talk about fake news, and how did they impact the election? BuzzFeed did some studies about that. These are the stories. Take a look at which candidate these appear to have helped or hurt over the course of the election. Shouldn't shock you, right? A huge fan of the website Ending the Fed. I think that's a really reliable source. Of these sources, the scariest shit for me is that in the last 3 months before the election, more people clicked on and engaged with the fake news than the real shit. And that's what scares me as a purveyor of the real news. So I want to take a step back and talk about what it means when you say fake news. It is not reporters making mistakes. We all do this, and we've all done this for a very long time. Responsible people make mistakes and own up to them. So it's definitely not when a hardworking journalist does something and you don't like that story, because we get that all the time these days. It is not that. It is also not what happens when you're at the supermarket checkout line, because these guys didn't treat Hillary very well either. But this is clearly entertainment, and it's not showing up in your social feeds. What I'm talking about is something a little more insidious, and it's happening all the time. The phenomenon of fake news. If you go outside the middle third on this source of information across the internet, you start to get into territory that's a little bit sketchy. Some of the people in the middle, including a partner of ours, are doing some really interesting work checking facts, and that's what I want to talk to you about tonight. PolitiFact is a product of the Tampa Bay Times, which is a newspaper in Florida, and they're partnered with us in Pennsylvania. So we get to do fact checks for Pennsylvania. Why is this important? Well, a few weeks ago, the GOP had a retreat in town, and the President of the United States said some shit about the city that, well, didn't sound right. So we subjected it to our process. We, our reporters, will gather in what's called a star chamber after we alert the administration that we're going to check the fact in question, any fact, any public official. Donald Trump has a history with PolitiFact, and it ain't pretty. Look at how often the man has said things that are either half true or way below half true. He also won the Lie of the Year, and that was for the comments on Obama's birth certificate. So the guy and the truth have a tenuous relationship. When we take a fact into the chamber, any fact, we have to submit it to these 4 questions, basically giving the person the benefit of the doubt as to whether any part of that statement is true. And we do this, there's at least 3 people in the chamber so that we can't have a tie. These are how we rate this comment. How do you guys think we rated the comment about Philadelphia's murder rate going steadily out of control? I would love to say that that was our ruling, but we had to consider that it was ridiculous, and it maybe wasn't ridiculous for some people. So we went with false, but we did rate it thusly, and that is what the ruling is on our website right now. A process that we find that we're pretty proud of, and we're proud to be Pennsylvania's partner in PolitiFact. These sites that are checking news are a huge part of how Facebook itself is trying to fix the problem, and nobody really agrees on how that's going to happen. Facebook knows that it's important. It's convened a discussion about media. They're also relying on sites like ours to help flag bullshit stories when they come across. Before you share a story that we have checked, among others, Facebook will say, whoa, hold up, maybe we put a barrier of some sort between you and this fake news. And we are proud to be that barrier for you guys, for Pennsylvania. You can help. Please go check out billypenn.com fact checks to see what some of the work that we've done. You can contribute, if you'd like, to PolitiFact. But the one thing I want you guys to take away from tonight is that truth and the facts really stand between you and bullshit on the internet. We are the condoms for Facebook. And so thank you.